Before you watch the tutorial on how to put our contours and our chart into Inkscape and manipulate them so they all line up, make sure you have watched my previous video on how to make a custom chart and how to download contours from QGIS using NOAA data. Assuming you've already watched those last two videos I just mentioned, this is going to be our final product. As you can see, I have the chart layer in here and all my contours. Here's all the contours that I chose. As you can see, there are red and black ones, and we'll go into that a little bit more later. You also see that I added in some of my own information. So let's get started. To start, you're going to need to make a whole new document, so you could do File, New, and it will open this up. I'm going to close these right now because we'll talk about them in a second. Now, first thing we want to do is edit our document's properties. So Shift-Control-D or Document Properties under File. And here's our document properties. For me, I'm setting mine to 11.5 by 8 inches. And if I wanted to, I could not show my borders. So let's see what that looks like. As you can see, it's completely blank. Or I can show them, and there it is. You can also turn on a checkered background. Or you could change the background altogether. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 11.5 by 8. You can also click any of these, and they might even match up with the chart you've created in the past. Okay, so here we are. We've now set up our file. At this point, we're going to need to add in our chart. So we're going to go ahead and drag it and drop it in. However, if you are using a Mac, you're not going to be able to drag and drop it in. So you'll have to do File, Import, or Control-I. I'll go ahead and drag in my chart now. Once you've added in your chart, this PDF import settings will appear. We're going to go ahead and keep internal import clicked on, and I'm going to keep replace PDF fonts by closest name, and we're going to keep embedded images on. And personally, I just like to set this to fine, not very fine, but I'll just set it just right on that cusp between medium and fine. Reason behind that is, I don't know. I just think it looks better, and it's what I've always done. And we're going to do only one of the pages. Don't forget, the second page is not useful information for what we're doing. Hit OK. Once it appears, you'll see that it's a little off center. That's okay. We're going to go ahead and try to make it as on center as we can. I'm now realizing as I try to put this on center that I may have made my properties all wrong. It is 11 by 8.5. Probably should realize that when I looked up here. All right, that probably looks a lot better now. Yep, now I can center it. All right, once you have it centered on here, I suggest you don't move it around. Let's go ahead and zoom in and look at it. Right, now that we're zoomed in, we can see there's some things in the chart that we're gonna wanna edit. First off, I don't want that gray. I want that rect to be black. And second, I don't want sample chart not for navigation or the date that is generated on my chart at all. This PDF is highly editable. So we're gonna go over to this create and edit text or hit F8. We'll go over to our text and just simply highlight it and delete. Don't forget, this is not for navigation. Go simply around, and we're going to delete all of them. And our final one. And I don't really want date generated at all on here. All right, so now that we've gotten rid of everything on here, you might think to yourself, well, can I edit these soundings as well? And what I found is that you sort of can. So if I delete that, it's no longer bold. But if I delete it again, I can delete it. So, oh, no, there it is. delete again. This goes on. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea what's going on here. So I highly suggest you don't edit your soundings. So we'll go ahead and bring this back to the way it was. All right, now that's back to the way it was. Let's go ahead and edit this right here, which is this rec. I actually want it to be black. So I'm going to use this Edit Path by Nodes tool, F2. And I'm going to select it. Let's go ahead and zoom in further. So we're now zoomed on this rec, and we're using our Edit Path by Nodes tool and start editing this rec. So we're going to go up to Object, Fill and Stroke. And as you can see, we're doing Fill and Stroke and Stroke. Let's go ahead and make that completely black. Hypothetically, you could also change the width, or you can make it dashes. Don't know why you would want to do that, but it's something you could do. Now, we're going to edit this part of it as well. So we're going to go ahead and click it. We're going to make that black, as we can see. And it looks like the rest of it is a fill, and we'll make it black as well. All right, we've now edited that little rec. You can do that with a lot of these different symbols. For now, I'm just going to edit that rec, but you can do that with a lot of symbols and kind of the same. So we zoom back out on our chart. I want to talk about this real fast. You'll notice that we're still in this Edit Path by Nodes tool. And as I start going over things, I'm actually seeing a lot more than just was on my chart. And that's going to be really convenient for us. So as we go on, just keep that in mind that when you go over this, you can really take a lot of this information onto your contour layer. You can even take, which is going to be really important for us, these information right here, these boxes, just everything here is almost editable. This is extremely useful for us, and I think extremely interesting. At this point, I want to start adding in new layers to set myself up for success so I can start adding in my contour information. So I'm going to go back to this, just a cursor, and I'm going to go to Layers. I can either Shift Control L, or I can go to Layers and then hit Layers again. And here you can see Layers. First thing I'm going to do is double click and rename this my chart layer. And I'm actually going to make a few more layers. I'm going to make 3 more. 1, 2, 3. All right, now let's rename these. I'm going to name this first one Chart Outline. Name the second one Contours Unedited. And finally, I'm going to name this one Contours Selected. All right, cool. So I've now made my new layers. You can turn off layers by simply clicking this eyeball. You can see turned off, and we turn it back on that way. I'm going to go ahead and turn off these other layers. And I'm going to go ahead and select Chart Outline. Maybe turn that one back on and go to my chart again. I'm going to set myself up for success here by taking this outline right here and putting it into Chart Outline. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the chart. We could do a few ways of doing this. We could have chosen to use a rectangle and made our outline, but I think it's better to just use what's already here. So we can click our outline, and we're going to right click, duplicate. Do not copy and paste. Trust me, if you copy and paste, you'll be moving lines around all day. Now that we've duplicated, there are 2 lines there. We're going to move to chart outline, move. And now we're going to turn off chart, and you'll see here is our chart outline. And now that we've zoomed back out, you can see there is our chart outline. And we turn back on chart. you can see that it is in the same exact location. This will be important in the future and will help us set up for success. All right, now that we've set up our outline, we need to add in our contours. So I'll go ahead and turn off that layer, and I'm going to turn on the contours unedited layer and select it. You know what layer in when you have selected it. So if I'm selecting this one, if I add anything in, I'll be in the contour selected layer. If I'm adding this one, I do anything on my paper at all, I'm in my charts layer. So we'll select that and we're in contours unedited. Okay, at this point, I'm going to add in my digital elevation data. I'm going to simply drag it and drop it. And this may take a while just because we are dealing with a lot of data. All right, so here is our data. As you can see, it's very intense and there's a lot of it. Now we just set ourselves up for success because as you can see, this box right here was the same box we made in creating contours in QGIS tutorial. This box represents the same box as the chart outline box. And we're going to be doing that here in a second. At this point, we're going to move contours from our contours unedited to contours selected. So we're going to use this edit path by nodes tool again. And we're going to just start hovering over and you can see every contour that you want to select. Now we can start easy. We know we want this box, so we can right click, move to layer, contour selected. You could also duplicate it, move to layer, contour selected, and then you still have your box in this layer. You can do that for also the contours that you're dealing with, and that will help you out in the future. Let's say you move everything around and you decide, uh-oh, I wanted a different contour. You at least still have the original copy. It's up to you. I'm going to just move things. So using our edit by path node tool, let's go over to a contour we know we want. I know I'm going to want this one. Select it. Move to layer, contour selected. These may take a while because they are a larger file. Now for information like this, which represents our land data, I found it best to start just panning over until you get exactly what you want. For example, I'll just go ahead and click. It may take a while. And that pretty much represents what I want for the land data. So I'll go ahead and move that to selected. You're going to continue doing that for each layer that you want. I'll go ahead and move a few of these over and we'll continue with the tutorial. Okay, I've moved over a good amount of these contours. As you see, I haven't done them all. You'll see in my final product that I did them all. But for this one, since it's just a tutorial, I did a few of them just so you can get the idea. Okay, so I've also turned on the contour selected layer and I've turned off the contour unedited layer. I'm going to lock the contour unedited layer. The reason behind that is that there's a lot of data in there and I don't want to be sitting here all night trying to move things around because I accidentally opened up contour unedited. Okay, once the contour unedited is locked, we're going to go open up our chart outline and you can see that we're going to have to align this box with this box. So that's the contour selected box with the chart outline box. Go ahead and turn off the chart outline, and we're going to now select everything inside our contour selected layer. Once you've selected everything, go ahead and group. And now that everything's grouped together, we can move it as a whole. For the most part, that's pretty lined up. I may have made a mistake when creating my contours box, just off by a single digit, and I think this is what happens. But that's fine. This is going to line up pretty well, so we'll go ahead and turn on our chart layer. And we can already see some cool things happening. So we'll zoom in and look at them. So as you can see, the river almost lines up perfectly. So I probably might want to play with my chart selected layer a little bit more and try to get it to line up better. And also you can see that this is starting to line up, which is going to be my land layer. And that's almost aligned as well. That's nearly aligned. And it's pretty much aligned right there too. So you can go ahead and start fiddling around with this as much as you want. I'm going to go ahead and call it here and start doing the next process. So at this point, we're going to want to move our contours to different layers. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my chart. And I'm also going to turn off my chart outline. And I'm going to create 6 layers. So how do you know how many layers to create? Well, it comes down to how many pieces of wood you have. For my project, I actually had 7 pieces of wood, so I would actually make 7 layers. But for this one, we're going to make 6 just for demonstration purposes. At this point, I like to go through and rename my layers. So I'll make my first layer land, so I know that those are my land contours. My second layer is going to be 0 to 10. The next one's going to be 10 to 15. 15 to 20, 20 to 25, and my last one I'll say is greater than 30. So what does that mean? That means, That means any of these, I'm going to put the contours that need to go to land in the land, 0 to 10 and 0 to 10 and so forth and so on. So how do I know where they go? Well, I can actually turn on my chart layer, use my little nodes tool over here again, and then go around and start selecting them. Now, what you will notice is you can start selecting your actual chart's contours. This is useful. So for example, this contour didn't exist in any of my data. So I can select it, duplicate it, and it looks like that's going to be a 20 to 25 layer. Then I'll go to move it to 20 to 25. If we turn off 20 to 25, we're still good because that's there. Now let's say that you're going to be cutting all the way out here and you want to make sure that this contour continues out all the way out there. Well, here's the good news. It does, because when you're selecting this, it continues all the way out. So before we start moving these contours around, we want to do one more thing. And that's we want to set up our giant cut box. So this will be the box that we use to actually cut out our layers. For this, I like to make it just a little bit less than the actual outline. So we can go into here, inches, and if you remember right, we're 11.5. So we're 11. I made that mistake earlier. So we'll make this 10 point. We'll make it 10.5. Oh, that's a width. So yeah, we'll make the width. Actually, we'll make the width 11. And we'll make the height 8.25. All right, so if you remember right now, we're in the 20 to 25 layer. That's where this box exists. And we're going to want to adjust it so that it takes up the center of the area. And once we have in the center of the area, we can now go to fill and stroke, no fill, and I'm going to go ahead and give the outside of it and make it red. And I'll make the stroke style 0.100. All right, cool. Why so thin? Well, the laser cutter I use, I don't know about other ones, but they need to have the lines hair thin, and red lines equal cut and black lines equal engrave. So now that we have that box set up, now it's up to you to start moving your contours to the layer that you want them at. So don't forget, the way we're going to do that is we're going to use the node tool. You just simply select the one you want and move it to whatever you want it at. So that one looks like it's in a 2025 as well, and you can move it. So before we finish up here, something to keep in mind is the contours that you want cut should be red, and the contours you want engraved should be black or blue, depending on your engraver. So instead of me going through here and moving each of my contours to where they should be at, I think you kind of know how to do that. You go to your contour, you select it, and then move to a certain layer. Let's look at my finished product. Okay, so this is my final chart. As you can see, I set everything up. I have a land 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 and so forth. And you can also see that each of my layers has this big box around it that represents my cut for the entire chart. And each layer is designated with red and black lines. So I'll go ahead and turn off the chart layer, and we'll go ahead and zoom in. As you can see, this layer right here, we'll go ahead and just keep on one layer right now. We'll go ahead and turn on the 0 to 10 layer. So look in the 0 to 10 layer, you can see red is cut, black is engrave. You'll notice that since I'm punching out the middle of this area, I went ahead and set it up so this is all red, meaning that this will all get cut out. This is black, meaning this will get engraved. This is red right here, so meaning the middle of it will be cut out. And once again, the outside is black. So why did I keep the outside black, and why did I even bother? Well, for this. And notice that each and every layer has a black outline. That makes it so that when I want to actually start stacking them up, I know exactly where to align them. Let's go ahead and turn them back on all my layers. Okay, that concludes this tutorial on how to use Inkscape in order to edit your contours and edit your chart itself. I hope that you enjoyed. This is the last video in this entire series, and I hope whatever you create looks beautiful. Thank you again for watching.